Thank you for joining me for another episode of A White Woman in Distress. This podcast is dedicated to raising awareness for missing children, teens, and adults who have disappeared under heartbreaking circumstances. My mission is to spread the word, keep their stories alive, and help bring these missing loved ones back home. It's time for us to come together as a community and recognize that not every missing person receives the same level of attention. Overlooked cases often involve marginalized groups, including Indigenous people, people of color, members of the LGBTQ+ community, runaway teens, and homeless individuals. These groups face unique challenges, from systematic racism and media bias to jurisdictional issues and social stigma. As a result, their disappearances are often under-investigated and lack the attention that they so desperately deserve, because anyone that's missing deserves the same amount of attention as every other case. These differences highlight the urgent need for systematic change, including better policies, data collection, and coordination between law enforcement agencies. But it also calls for greater community involvement. Grassroots organizations, advocacy groups, and volunteers are stepping up where resources fall short, working to raise awareness and push for legislative action. We really need to help each other out because it can happen to anyone. It can happen today, tomorrow, next week. It can happen to anyone and happens to everyone. Our ultimate goal is to bring everyone home safely. Families deserve closure and every missing person deserves to be found. Please be aware that content discussed in this episode may include violence, sexual assault, or murder, which some find distressing. Listener discretion is advised. So today, we're going to go over one of the most chilling and heartbreaking cases, Oakley Lynn Carlson. Oakley was a sweet little girl from Washington State who has been missing since early 2021. Her case remains unsolved, and the details surrounding her disappearance are as tragic as they are disturbing. We'll explore what we know, what we suspect, and why this case continues to haunt so many people. Before we dive into the events of Oakley's disappearance, I want to share a little bit about who Oakley was. Oakley Lynn Carlson was born December 6, 2016. She was a bright, playful little girl with brown hair and brown eyes. Oakley spent much of her early life in foster care, living with her loving foster family who took her in when she was just 7 months old due to her biological parents' substance abuse issues. Her foster parents, Eric and Jamie Jo Hiles, cared deeply for Oakley. For nearly 2 years, she was in a stable and nurturing environment. Fortunately, October 2019, Oakley was returned to her biological parents just before her 3rd birthday, despite multiple concerns raised by her foster parents about her safety. Oakley was placed back with her parents under the state policy of family reunification, which, if we have children that are in foster care situations and we have children in the system, we need to look into them. We need to make sure that they are cared for, and we definitely need to do checks regularly into the foster homes themselves to make sure that, nothing weird is going on or nothing tragic. But we also need to take a better overall stance on making sure that these are actually loving homes and that they are stable, and that whatever they were taking away from, if they were taken from this, by the state, that we need to do a better job into making sure that we do our part in just double checking and fact checking and just checking in regularly to make sure that these children are safe and that they are going to be safe. Because what happens next is truly heartbreaking. With that being said, now we're going to dive into the details surrounding Oakley's disappearance. Here's a timeline of the events leading up to and following Oakley's disappearance. December 25th, 2020. This is the last time Oakley was seen by someone outside of her immediate family. She spent Christmas with her grandparents, who later reported to police that Oakley looked unwell. Her grandmother described her as pale, with dark circles under her eyes and scratches or sores on her face. Concerned for Oakley's well-being, her grandmother contacted Child Protective Services. However, nothing ever came of this report, which I'm telling you, if we need to do a better job. There aren't ifs, ands, or buts about it. If Child Protective Services is called, there's a reason. And if they do their investigation and they find out that something is wrong, great. If they find out, it was just somebody that didn't like them called in, that's also fine. February 10th, 2021, was the last confirmed sighting of Oakley by someone associated with the family occurring on this date. Investigators later used this as the official last time Oakley was ever seen alive. Which again, if they had followed up, because the grandma called on December 25th, maybe that wouldn't have been the last time, because that was February. That was only basically a month and a half from when the grandmother called in. November 6th, 2021, Andrew Carlson, Oakley's father, called 911 to report a fire at the family home. According to Andrew, the fire started when one of their children, likely Oakley, used a cigarette lighter to set the couch on fire. He claimed that he and his wife had fought the fire for hours, but never called for help. Suspicious, you're lying, stop lying. Investigators later determined that the fire likely started in the kitchen, not on the couch, as Andrew claimed. Shocker, I know, right? How do you just blame a 8-year-old for using a lighter, which they'd have to know how to use, and lit the couch on fire? Yeah, okay. And then the fact that it started in the kitchen, okay, Andrew. November 10th, 2021, Jessica Swift, the principal of Oakville Elementary School, visited the Carlson home to deliver supplies after the fire. During her visit, Swift noticed that Oakley was nowhere to be seen. When she asked where Oakley was, Jordan Bowers, Oakley's mother, said that Oakley was being punished and confined to her room. Swift stayed at the house for 45 minutes but did not see or hear Oakley. November 24th, 2021, Swift returned to the Carlson home to drop off more supplies for the family. Again, Oakley was absent, and her siblings were the only children present. Swift left the house after 5 minutes, feeling increasingly concerned about Oakley's well-being. Oakley's 6-year-old sibling had a sleepover at the Swift household. During the visit, Swift asked the sibling about Oakley's whereabouts, to which the sibling responded, "Oakley is no more." Shocked by the statement, Swift asked for clarification, and Oakley's sibling said that Oakley had gone to live with her former foster parents. Alarmed by this, Swift contacted law enforcement to request a welfare check. December 6th, 2021, the police conducted a welfare check on the Carlson family at the hotel where they had been staying following the fire. Oakley was not there. When questioned, Andrew Carlson told police that Oakley was just with his parents. However, when investigators contacted Andrew's father, he revealed that he hadn't seen Oakley since the Christmas 2020, almost a full year earlier. Jordan Bowers, Oakley's mother, became uncooperative and refused to answer questions from the police. Later that day, Andrew called 911 to officially report Oakley missing. This was nearly 10 months after Oakley was last seen alive. 10 months. This family didn't report their child missing. 10 months. I applaud this principal because she blew the whistle as soon as she went the first time, and she was like, I don't know about that. And then the second time that she went, and she was like, nope, something's up. I 100% feel like this woman needs a raise. Like, she definitely not making enough. Because she called them on their bluff, basically. December 7th through the 13th, 2021. Police executed a search warrant on the Carlson home and surrounding property. The search lasted for several days, involving drones, ground-penetrating radar, and divers. Investigators found no trace of Oakley, but discovered blood on the blinds, the front door, and a handprint on the wall in the downstairs hallway. At this point, Andrew Carlson and Jordan Bowers were arrested on the charges of second-degree abandonment of a dependent person. This charge, however, was related to their failure to provide medication to Oakley's 6-year-old siblings, not Oakley herself. Although Andrew and Jordan were arrested, no charges related to Oakley's disappearance were filed. Police continued their investigations and interviewed Oakley's siblings. During these interviews, Oakley's younger brother revealed that he had seen his mother beat Oakley with a belt, and that Oakley had been confined to a closet for long periods of time. He expressed concern that Oakley might have been starved. Oakley's sister added to the disturbing narrative, recalling how their mother had told her that Oakley had gone into the woods and been eaten by wolves. Whether this is a cruel lie intended to silence the children or something more sinister, it remains unclear. The circumstances surrounding Oakley's disappearance continue to point to foul play. But without a body or definitive evidence, the case remains open. And I feel like if you're going to tell children that they went in the woods and they got eaten by wolves, that's terrifying. Like, I wouldn't want to play outside anymore because my sister got eaten by wolves. Well, if I go outside, am I going to get eaten by wolves? Like, that's insane. While Oakley's case has yet to result in any changes related to her disappearance, both Andrew Carlson and Jordan Bowers faced legal consequences for their treatment of their children. In early 2020, Andrew pled guilty to charges of child endangerment with a controlled substance after it was revealed that 2 of his children had extremely high levels of meth in their systems. Yes, you heard me. Meth. He was giving the children meth. There's no reason you should ever be giving a child meth. Nothing. And the fact that they had extremely high levels means that they were literally giving the children meth. It wasn't, oh, they accidentally, which it wouldn't be an accident, but like, Jordan Bowers also pled guilty to the same charges and was sentenced to 20 months in prison due to her prior criminal history. Unfortunately, these sentences did little to bring justice for Oakley, and her parents have remained uncooperative in the investigation of her disappearance. I feel like 20 months is not enough. Maybe that's just me, but the fact that they were giving children meth and that 2 of them had high levels of meth in their system and they only got 20 months is wild. Like, you really think that it's okay for them to just get 20 months? Child endangerment, giving them extremely hard drugs, but a lot of it. The one kid did say that they had seen their mother beat Oakley with a belt. Tells me that there might have been neglect, the starving, yep, and they got 20 months. I don't get it. They definitely should have got a lot more than 20 months, but whatever. This case exposes the failings of the child protective system. Oakley's former foster parents, Eric and Jamie Jo Hiles, had repeatedly voiced their concerns about her safety after she was returned to her biological parents. Despite multiple reports to CPS, Oakley remained in the home where she was subjected to severe abuse and neglect. Again, her parents, Jordan Bowers and Andrew Carlson, got 20 months. Are you kidding me? It raises the question, how many more children are slipping through the cracks in a system designed to protect them? Oakley's story is a stark reminder of the flaws within the foster care and child protective systems. It's a system that, while designed to protect children, often falls short due to bureaucratic limitations and a lack of resources. Oakley's case is particularly heartbreaking because her foster parents had done everything right. They had raised their concerns, they reported the issues to CPS, and yet Oakley was returned to the environment that ultimately led to her disappearance. As someone who covers these stories, I feel the weight of these failures deeply. It's a reminder that we, as a society, need to do more to protect vulnerable children. We need to advocate for reform in the foster care system and push for more oversight and accountability. Oakley's story should serve as a call to action because after she was given back to her regular parents, the grandmother voiced her opinion and it was overlooked. The principal then voiced her opinion and it was eventually looked into. Now, if they would have never given her back, none of this ever would have happened. If they would have given her back and then the grandma, when she voiced her concern, they had done a welfare check, maybe they would have taken her out of that situation. But we'll never know. In the aftermath of Oakley's disappearance, there's been a growing movement to pass Oakley's Law, a proposed piece of legislation that would provide more oversight for children returning to their biological families after being in foster care. The law would create a 5-point system of support, including mandatory check-ins and long-term drug testing for families who are reunified with their children. A Change.org petition for Oakley's Law has already gained thousands of signatures and supporters who are hopeful that it will be passed in the near future. If you want to help make a difference, consider signing the petition and supporting this important cause. In the meantime, the Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office is offering an $85,000 reward for information leading to Oakley's whereabouts. If you have any information, no matter how small, please contact the Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office at 360-964-1729. As we conclude today's episode, I want to thank you for listening and remind you that cases like Oakley's aren't just stories. They are real tragedies affecting real families. It's up to us to keep these stories alive, to advocate for the missing, and to determine and to demand justice for the children who cannot speak for themselves. If you suspect child abuse, please contact Childhelp National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4-A-CHILD or visit www.childhelp.org. Your call could save a life. Thank you for joining me for episode 26 of A White Woman in Distress. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never stop fighting for justice. Join me next time as we continue to shine a light on the forgotten and missing. And remember, if you see something, say something, and do something. Don't forget to subscribe and share. I'm on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook.